asked me to help you.
Welcome everyone to the Best Damn Podcast. I am your host, John Keene. As always, I would like to thank you guys for joining me. Ask that you please add, follow, and check us out. www.thebestdampodcast.tv. Follow me, Instagram, Facebook, Best Damn Podcast, Twitter, The Real Best Damn, and wherever you're watching from, make sure to hit that like, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and share this link. Get it out there the way new people can find us. Make sure to subscribe, click all on the notifications. Check out our tarot videos, our astrology videos. We'll be posting more tarot videos today after the live. Consider booking your own personal tarot reading. Email therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com or donate to support the channel. We're completely viewer powered. The links are on the description box down below. I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining me. I had to put this one off. I was going to do this show last night, but I wanted to do it, in the day when I was refreshed and I had lots of energy to really bring it on this one. This is going to be an incredible show, and for people that aren't familiar with my channel and people that aren't familiar with a lot of the psychological warfare operations that have taken place, especially I'd say since around 2012, 2016, somewhere in there, they have a satanic undertone, and I'm going to show you why, right? People get very upset with me for being into the occult and looking at all of these things sometimes, but it's like, if we don't look, then we'll never ever know. It's like, how are we going to understand the things that are being used against us, all of the tactics that are being deployed against us, on an everyday basis through the media, right? Through the internet, social media, right? We're being socially engineered. But for what purpose? And to what end? I think recently, over the last few years, COVID-19 has really brought everything to the forefront to where people can at least see that there is some sort of an agenda taking place, and like a lot of people don't want to come to terms with the fact that it could be one to thin out the herd, one for depopulation. It's like, how do we get us to that point? A lot of people that supported Trump don't want to come to terms with the fact that more than likely he was controlled opposition, that this was used to target, the patriotic Americans, the nationalists, and the populists that are still remaining, and kind of push us into this communist, socialist type of government that we're really walking into now, And we see through our own politicians, senators, presidents, you name it, are undermining the fabric of our nation. They're undermining our dollar bill, right? By going with this whole electrification agenda when we have what's called the petrodollar. It's backed by fucking oil. It's like people still don't get it. And I hate to say it, when you look into the conspiracy kind of, realm on YouTube and BitChute and Rumble and all these great sites, which you can follow us on all of them, a lot of what you find is garbage. A lot of what you find are people that are crazier than fuck, right? None of their shit's really based in reality, and they think everything is a conspiracy and everyone is out to get them, and it kind of just discredits all of the real truth as a whole. So it's like, today what we're going to do is we're going to walk through and we're going to show you some of the different acts and amendments and through the federal government that have taken place to target domestic terrorists and target the United States' very own citizens, to show you that there is probable cause for our government to be doing this, and doing it through the intelligence agencies, the Department of Defense, so on and so forth. And then we're going to look at some news articles that are showing you that this is being telegraphed. This is being put out into the mass consciousness, right, through the mainstream media. Different things like Cicada 3301, the anonymous hacker group, QAnon, right? And then we're going to look at some of the pay spins and the documents from these different operations, and we're going to walk you through and show you how deeply embedded in the esoteric or the occult they are, and that it's kind of like this whole witchcraft thing that's being used to, really like these massive rituals to push people in a direction that they want them to go, and a lot of people end up in some fucked up places and fucked up rabbit holes after getting into some of this stuff. So, like I said, thank you everybody for joining me. Please hit the like. If you're in the chat, it helps us. It helps get more people in here. I want to thank everybody for being in the chat too. Make sure to comment. Let me know what you think about the topics we're going to be talking about today. And don't forget to subscribe. Check out all of our tarot videos. Book the tarot reading. Donate support to the channel. Get a subscription. That's what helps keep us going. So here we go, guys. And I am excited. This is, an oldie but goodie to me. This is something that some of you guys may be re-familiarized with, but I have a lot of new information I'm going to be piling on you today. So, all right. How the U.S. Patriot Act redefines domestic terrorism. Section 802 of the USA Patriot Act expanded the definition of terrorism to cover domestic, as opposed to international terrorism. A person engages in domestic terrorism if they do an act dangerous to human life, that is in violation of the criminal laws of a state or the United States, if the act appears to be intended to, and here they are: 1. Intimidate or coerce a civilian population. 2. Influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion. 3. To affect the conduct of government by mass destruction, assassination, or kidnapping. Additionally, the acts have to occur primarily within the territorial jurisdiction of the United States, and if they do not, they may be regarded as international terrorism. Section 802 does not create a new crime of domestic terrorism. However, it does expand the type of conduct that the government can investigate when it is investigating terrorism. The USA Patriot Act expanded governmental powers to investigate terrorism, and some of these powers are applicable to domestic terrorism. The definition of domestic terrorism is broad enough to encompass the activities of several prominent activist campaigns and organizations. Greenpeace, Operation Rescue, Vequest Island, and WTO protesters and the Environmental Liberation Front have all recently engaged in activities that could subject them to being investigated as engaging in domestic terrorism. And not just that, right? This goes a whole level deeper. This can cover people that have created content as well. Online communities, conspiracy communities, truther communities. If you have a Facebook group that's dedicated to the truth or exposing something or anti-jab or whatever, you, my friend, could be labeled a domestic terrorist. It's that simple. It's that easy. And they could, wiretap you and do all types of things to destroy your fucking life, your reputation, your credibility, without you ever being made aware of this. This is one recent example is the Vequest Island protest, which many people, including several prominent Americans, participated in civil disobedience on a military installation where the United States government has been engaging in regular military exercises, which these protesters oppose. The protesters illegally entered the military base and tried to obstruct the bombing exercises. This conduct would fall within the definition of domestic terrorism because the protesters broke federal law by unlawfully entering the air base, and their acts were for the purpose of influencing a government policy by intimidation or coercion. The act of trying to disrupt bombing exercises arguably created a danger to human life, their own and those of military personnel. Using this hypothetical as a starting point, we will go through the USA Patriot Act and explore the new governmental powers that can be brought up. And I just want to, kind of point this out too, what we've seen with the George Floyd protests and all that. One of the things that don't sit right to me, and I want you to kind of think about this. I was traveling at the time. I was like in Nashville, Louisville, and then came back to Cincinnati. So I seen like multiple cities, and how they were locked down, curfew, National Guard, state troopers lined up and down the highways. It was just craziness. It was like, how did we get to that point? How do we get to that point where these protests become criminal acts or acts of terrorism, which they weren't labeled that by the media. They were, glorified by the media and looked at as righteous, legal protest, even though you couldn't gather and assemble to protest COVID, right, legally. During that time, they took that away from you. That amendment, the First Amendment, or freedom of speech, to assemble, free press, all that. But it was, in fact, intelligence agents and different federal officers that were stirring up these riots and protests. They were found many cities with bricks already in the streets to destroy businesses, right? To set fires, to create and wreak havoc and vandalism, and to create violence and intimidation. to coerce people to go along or to participate in what was taking place. We've seen it in Missouri. We've seen it in all across the United States with George Floyd. I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We've seen this many times on many occasions with these protests. It's like the intelligence agencies are the ones stimulating this, right? Getting this going, creating this environment or atmosphere to make something turn from a peaceful protest to a violent protest. And then the media focuses in on it, glorifies it, pushes it through social media, right? Through all of our feeds, so we see it, we talk about it. More and more people participate, right? And then go in after the fact and target all the citizens that participated to put them in prison. We've seen this also January 6th, the Capitol riots. You guys will remember. And I did videos on this, which I'm bringing back in 2023 here. We're going to revamp the membership and uploading a whole, library of uncensored videos. I'm going to start doing twice a month private lives on Discord again with a chat after and all of that. So if you're interested, donating support, I'll be dropping updates and all that, membership, subscriptions, all that. But we're going to revamp that whole thing for 2023. You guys will remember the Capitol riots. Like, Donald Trump was encouraging people to go out, encouraging people to protest. And then when we get there, we see that a lot of the police officers weren't even real. They were actors. This was a crisis act, type of bullshit where they were paying people to protest, paying people to pretend to be violent, and then the media was already there to cover all of this. The FBI, CIA was involved. There were fake fucking deaths and all kinds of shit. And just watch my video. You can go on BitChute and see some of my videos on this if you don't believe it, right? And you can see the footage for yourself, Jaden Smith and all this going through. It's just crazy, right? And this was once again stimulated by our very own government and then used to target our own citizens after the fact. It was nothing like what it was being projected out by the media. Neither was the George Floyd shit, right? None of these things were. They were never what we were told they were. They weren't organic at all, right? They weren't grassroots movements that organically exploded into violence. It wasn't like that, right? It was something that was pushed. We were being socially engineered through social media, our Twitter feeds, our Facebook feeds, and all of this, right? Because big media and Silicon Valley were pushing these through our algorithms. They were silencing and censoring the things they didn't want you to hear or talk about if they were anti-jab or whatever, right? Or if they exposed things that they were doing, like pedophilia and all that. They didn't want you to hear about that. They swept all that under the rug. They canceled anybody who talked about those things, right? But they would push the protest and push the violence through your feed, and then at the same time actually deploy federal agents, FBI agents, CIA agents to go to these places and to create chaos. Paying actors to protest and to amp up the crowd. Using fake footage to make it look like something it wasn't, and then after the fact, using all of this bullshit to then target American citizens and label them domestic terrorists. And remember, the reauthorization of the Patriot Act in 2020. So Donald Trump had his hand in all this too. And this is why I love to bring up Operation Trust. It was an anti-Bolshevik operation during the First World War, during the Russian Revolution, where they were being overthrown by the Bolsheviks, right? They created this, kind of just like QAnon, trust the plan. It was like supposed to be this patriot stand up for freedom shit, and it was used to target the people that were patriots of old Russia, right? And to line them up and kill them. And we see the same thing happening today. A lot of these people that get involved in these online movements, they end up becoming targeted individuals where they're driven crazy by electronic harassment, cyberbullying, gang stalking. I mean, you name it, the shit's insane. The things that people report happening to them and experiencing as a result of this. A lot of people who have made their living off of, social media platforms, content creation, are deplatformed. They lose their job. I'm one of the people, right? You can't make money at doing this anymore if you speak the truth. you know. And it's like they ruin people's lives. They ruin people's livelihood. They ruin people's reputations. And some people even go to prison or are killed, right? Used as patsies and set up for crimes they didn't commit and all this. And it's like a lot of these anonymous operations, these QAnon operations, and all these operations were the beginning of this, right? They're like the rotten seeds that have been planted, you know, and they use the occult, they use witchcraft to kind of push people into a state of mind that allows them to be more suggestive, that allows them to be more receptive to the information given, to where they then buy into this false narrative, this false reality, and can be manipulated to do things that they probably wouldn't normally do. All right, now I want to show you a couple of documents before we jump into, you know, all of this here. All right, the 2022 National Terrorist Financing Risk Assessment. We're just going to take a look here. In the 20 years since the 9/11 attacks, the U.S. government, led by the Department of the Treasury, has built a robust legal and institutional architecture to identify and disrupt terrorist financing domestically and internationally. And this is how they can go after your money, guys, if you are labeled, in fact, a domestic terrorist. In case you didn't know, they've created all these little groups and organizations and committees to target individuals. Okay, if you wear this label. And like people like myself, they were putting QAnon labels on my content years ago when all that was going on, and I wasn't even speaking about that. It says, domestically, this regime consists of legal authorities and investigative resources that prioritize identifying and prosecuting terrorist financiers, along with a robust U.S. anti-money laundering, countering the financing of terrorism framework. It's also supported by effective interagency information sharing and analysis, the collecting and reporting on the TF by financial institutions and other regulated entities, and regular information sharing and engagement between the public and private sectors. So essentially, you know, they're sharing information on your finances, who's supporting you, who's not, right? Who's financing you, and the way that you move your funds. And that's why you see giant websites like BitChute now say all of their funds have been frozen and they can't get to their money, right? Because they're allowing people to get on their platforms and to, you know, to speak things that maybe they don't want you to hear. Here's the United States Senate Committee, Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, the rising threat of domestic terrorism. This is a review of the federal response to domestic terrorism and the spread of extremist content on social media. Yeah, that's right. Like I said, if you put the wrong fucking Facebook post, man, you can end up in this, you know, which is crazy. It's crazy. This is a majority staff report, November 2022, and here's a summary. It says, over the past 2 decades, acts of domestic terrorism have dramatically increased. National security agencies now identify domestic terrorism as the most persistent and lethal terrorist threat to the homeland. The increase in domestic terror attacks have been predominantly perpetrated by white supremacists and anti-government extremist individuals and groups. It is clear that the federal government is not adequately addressing this growing threat, but without better data, it's difficult to evaluate whether federal agencies are appropriately allocating resources and setting priorities. Although outside researchers have reported on trends relating to domestic terrorism, the federal government has not systematically tracked and reported this data itself, despite being required to do so by law. Social media platforms have played an increasing role in the spread of extremist content that translates into real-world violence, due in part to business models that incentivize user engagement over safety. And this is essentially what they've done with all the Facebook shit. You guys seen it with Senate and Congress and, you know, revamping Twitter. It's like saying, because engagement is what increases your views, your subscribers, and all of that, right? That essentially they should be incentivizing people not based on engagement, based on their scoring system of who they deem is real news or who they deem is legitimate or who they deem is credible or safe to watch, right? And what this has done is allowed them to pick and choose who gets seen and who does not, right? To censor and filter all of the content. And you can see here, it's a culmination of 3 years investigation by the majority committee staff for U.S. Senator Homeland Security, Governmental Affairs, into Domestic Terrorism and the Federal Response. This report focuses on the rise in domestic terrorism, the federal response, the allocation of federal resources to addressing domestic terrorism, the role of social media companies, and the proliferation of extremist content. So this is content. They're calling extremist. You can be an extremist on either side of the aisle. Okay, whether you're a social justice warrior and, super liberal, or, you're a pro-Trumper, far-right conspiracy theorist, right? It's like, as part of this investigation, they sent documents and information and request letters to the Department of Homeland Security, Department of Justice, the FBI, Meta, which is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. The community also held briefings and interviews with the agencies and companies. Committee staff reviewed over 2,000 key documents obtained from federal agencies and social media companies in response to the request for information. So it's like, and they're using this in the aftermath of 9/11, as if that wasn't also a government operation in Operation Northwoods, right? Something decades back they were trying to do way back then, and that came out, and that's CIA. That's like that's out. That's freedom of information. You can find that yourself. Operation Northwoods. They were trying to knock down the trade centers and blame it on Cuba back then, right? And communism. It's like they just switched it up, killed Kennedy, and did it decades later with 9/11, and with Israel and all of that, and blamed it on Saudi Arabia, which we didn't go to war with them. We were able to go to war with Iraq for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, right? And start the Arab Spring and all the shit that's taking place in the Middle East since, which has landed us in Syria, with Russia and all of this. So it's like, yeah. And they're financial committees that they're worried about terrorists laundering money when they're the ones caught laundering money in places like Ukraine. So like I said, it's a lot of it's absolutely insane, just to say the truth about it. This is the national, as required by the National Defense Authorization Act. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security, in consultation with the Director of National Intelligence, have developed standard definitions of terminology related to domestic terrorism and uniform methodologies for tracking domestic terrorism incidents. So I'm going to show you some of the definitions for domestic terrorism. This is by FBI and all this. Domestic terrorism for the FBI's purposes is referenced in U.S. Code at 18 U.S.C. 23315 and is defined as activities involving acts dangerous to life, intimidate, coerce civilian population, influence the policy of government by intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of government by mass destruction, assassination, kidnapping, or occurring primarily within the territorial jurisdiction. Now, I want you to intimidate or coerce the civilian population. This can happen in a multitude of ways. This can happen simply by scaring people, right? So a lot of these doom and gloom people, and a lot of people have accused me of being like that, right, could be considered domestic terrorists if they want to take it to that level, because they're influencing public opinion, right? And that's what influencers do, is influence, right? By the content they create, they're influencing public opinion, the way that we perceive things, based on the information, the presentations that they give, okay? We see H.R. 350, the Domestic Terrorism Prevention Act of 2022, okay? And this bill establishes new requirements to expand the availability of information on domestic terrorism, as well as the relationship between domestic terrorism and hate crimes. Now think about that, hate crimes. Racist, xenophobe, transphobe, right? A number of things. You could be a phobe of anything, guys, if you just disagree with something. It authorizes domestic terrorism components within the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to monitor, analyze, investigate, and prosecute domestic terrorism. The domestic terrorism components of the DHS, DOJ, and the FBI must jointly report on domestic terrorism, including white supremacist-related incidents or attempted incidents. White supremacists, right? It's like, yeah, that's been a big thing, right? All the people that supported Trump, or, if you're white, you're automatically falling under this, right? You're pro-gun, whatever. They must review the anti-terror training and resource programs of their agencies that are provided to federal, state, local, and tribal law enforcement. Additionally, DOJ must make training on prosecuting domestic terrorism available to prosecutors to assistant U.S. attorneys. It creates an interagency task force to analyze and combat white supremacist and neo-Nazi infiltration of the uniformed services and the federal law enforcement agencies. Finally, it detects or directs the FBI to assign a special agent or hate crimes liaison to each field office to investigate hate crime incidents with a nexus to domestic terrorism. Do you understand? This is just in 2022, guys, right? Interagency task force to analyze and combat. Okay? And this is in law enforcement, the military, right? Anything. And also assign special agents and liaisons for hate crimes. Right? Like, I don't know, like, if people understand, you know, just how incredibly dangerous this is to, like, create these, you know, kind of brown shirt organizations to go after, you know, our own population, you know, and it's always in the name of safety and security. It's always in the name of anti-terrorism, the war on drugs, or whatever, the war on COVID. DHS could do more to address the threats of domestic terrorism. Yeah, and this, in the United States, your office has concurred with all 6 recommendations. Hopefully, we're still live. Okay, that was weird. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me good. I think that's very interesting that I'm talking about this, and it's like showing that I'm getting like a disconnect. I've never had that over here, but let me know if you guys can see me and hear me good in the chat room. And make sure you hit that like, guys. That way more people can come in. Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. I appreciate that. I've gotten a lot of people have reached out to me recently. I want to say this too, and just say, like, thank you to all the people that have, like, recently reached out, and, like, they've let me know that when they're watching my videos, the chat room numbers are off. A lot of things have been really fishy, so it goes, you know, it's really weird that we're talking about this, and, like, we start getting all the weird shit going on. Okay, 6 recommendations to improve the DHS's efforts to prevent and reduce domestic terrorism in the United States. Your office has concurred with all 6 recommendations based on information provided in your response to the draft report. We consider all 6 recommendations. Please submit a formal closeout letter within 30 days for close recommendations. And consider the responsibility of the Inspector General. Act will provide copies, blah, blah, blah. So this is saying this is to do more to address the threats of domestic terrorism, right? The Federal Bureau of Investigation, Strategic Intelligence Assessment, and data on domestic terrorism. And this just gets better and better. And here is the summary. Preventing terrorist attacks remains a top priority for both the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. The threat posed by international and domestic threat actors has evolved significantly since 9/11. The greatest terrorism threat to the homeland we face today is posed by lone offenders, and we've seen, like, the documents come out, lone wolves and all this shit. It's always a lone offender, and that's a patsy. Right, that's a patsy. You've seen it in Buffalo, you've seen it in Las Vegas, and Parkland, and Sandy Hook, and Boston, and, you know, on and on and on, usually. Often radicalized online. They're radicalized online. They'll always have some convenient social media post right before they attack a power grid, or right before they do something. They're always arrested by federal authorities, too. Right? And they were always on the radar forever, too. And they were, you know, right-wing conspiracy theorists and all of that. Always white too, right? It's like they've got this, you know, MO. They're going after particular people who took attack to soft targets with easily accessible weapons. And it's also anti-Second Amendment. We know that too. Many of these violent extremists are motivated and inspired by a mix of socio-political goals and personal grievances against their targets. With this report, we're providing our strategic intelligence assessment on DT, detailed discussion of our procedures and methods to address the domestic terrorism threats, as well as data on the incidents in our investigations. So I just want to kind of point this out, like what you've seen with Pizzagate, and then Comet Ping Pong Pizza follows, right, in DC, where the dude comes up with guns and all of this shit, in this pizza place because this right-wing conspiracy online drove him to do so, right? You see this happening over and over. It's the same motivation, right? The mentally ill motherfucker in Las Vegas, right? It was on all the Xannies before he starts shooting out the window, which, I've done many videos on these things over the years. You can no longer find most of the videos because they've been taken down. My channels in the past have been deleted. My videos always get strikes. I have 2 strikes on my backup channel right now, right? As a result of just coming back and trying to talk about shit again. If that lets you know anything, right there. That says something, a lot to me. Like we see the same kind of thing. These people have connections to federal government. A lot of the footage at these places, shows that there's crisis acting, or things are not what they appear. People are not truly dying, or, even if they are, it's not what we think, right? It's not what we're being fed by the media. There is an agenda. And these, the media is being pushed by the intelligence agencies too. It's like they get fed the information that they are supposed to feed us on network television. So it's like not like anybody's doing authentic news reporting except people that are, independent, like myself, and those are the people that are targeting as domestic terrorists. Now I want to show you this too, right? This is the Transition Integration Project of 2020. Okay, this is a crisis shit right here with the Trump-Biden election. This just shows you. This ended up in 30,000 National Guard troops and all that, right? Occupying D.C., federal employees being sent home, the January 6th Capitol riots, all of this, but it was all planned. So who should really be getting arrested? Citizens or the people doing this shit? So in June 2020, the Transition Integrity Project convened a bipartisan group of over 100 current and former senior government and campaign leaders and other experts in a series of 2020 election crisis scenario planning exercises. And take in mind, every time there's been a shooting, every time there's been a terrorist attack, every fucking time anything happens, there's an exercise happening the same time, same day, same fucking place. So, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. The result of all 4 including 9/11, the result of all 4 tabletop exercises were alarming. We assess with a high degree of likelihood that November's elections will be marked by a chaotic legal and political landscape. We also federal agents to put down left-wing protests underscore the extreme lengths to which the President Trump may be willing to go to in order to stay in office. In this report, they explain the basis of 4 assessments or findings are bolstered by historical from Bush Gore. And here are the concepts that they came up with. And you tell me if this actually happened in real life, okay? Number 1, the findings we highlight in this report. The concept of election night is no longer accurate and indeed is dangerous. A determined campaign has opportunity to contest the election in January 2021. The administrative transition process itself may be highly disrupted, and these risks can be mitigated. Plan for a contested election. Focus on readiness in states and political support for a complete and accurate count, and address the 2 biggest threats head on, which is lies about voter fraud and escalating violence, and anticipating a rocky administrative transition. And they were anticipating these transitions, were they not? Because they were actually, that's where all of the National Guard troops and all this shit were occupying the Capitol, right? So this shows you, there is no integrity in the transition. The dirty tricks were not by Trump and his supporters. Well, it was by Trump, right? He was taking his supporters to the slaughter, but it wasn't like something organic like they tried to tell us it was. This was the federal government itself setting us up for failure and then targeting us, individually as domestic terrorists after the fact for an exercise that they were running and practicing and then implemented to then use it to make us criminals, to charge us, put us in jail, and kill us, and do all the shit they've done. It's like, and we are supposed to remain silent about these things. We are not supposed to talk about these things. We're not supposed to bring this to your attention. Why? Because it's harmful, extremist content. If we do. The Freedom of Information Act, this is all public information. You can find this for yourself. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not nobody to tell you anything about anything. So use your own brain, your own spiritual discernment to come to your own conclusions. But I do ask that you look at things from a different perspective, a different point of view, and you ask yourself, like, how many times does something need to happen over and over for it to just not be a coincidence anymore? How many times? That's all I'll ask. Now I'm going to show you some articles here on a few of the different psyops, and we're going to jump into the paste bins and actually look at these psyops and show you the occult connections and shit too. It's going to be pretty fun. Okay, MJ3, cicadas and coincidence. Alright, how on earth are cicadas relevant to child abuse or the Illuminati? Until Monarch deprogrammer Gina mentioned them a couple weeks ago, I never considered that they might be. She said in her videos on purple Monarch programming, and Monarch is a mind control program, just like MK Ultra. Monarch mind control programming. She didn't fully understand the programming around cicadas, but the scenario was something like this. Apollo is connected to cicadas. Move to purple flood of Noah. Cicadas harvest energy from underground to grow hybrid beings, which come out when Apollo becomes tied to the Queen of Heaven. Bees and poison released all over, which they now have their vaccine bees and all that. Poisonous blood of the elite, fallen angels, etc. I've included the auto transcript of the cicadas. Now look at this. Right, you guys remember Cicada 3301. Here's the MJ2 purple programming, Monarch mind control program. Purple was noticeable color in the Biden inauguration. Hillary Clinton, Michelle Obama, and Kamala Harris all wore variations of this. Joe Biden also wore purple a day before. Sorry about that. And this is split into 4 videos. She explains the level 1 programming spread down to level 2, media, models, Hollywood, etc., down to the masses. And this is, the Cicada 3301 operation. The BLM, Black Lives Matter purple, that Gina spoke out, may have well been caused by a purple filter on the camera, not clothing. You see, putting purple filters on shit. Explains purple's injected into people's base programming, red and blue. Programming, red and blue. Programming is on different halves of the brain, which in programming are normally kept separate. Purple programming brings this together with all the consequences that will bring. Imagery of the inauguration. This is similar to the movie The Cell, right? The purple programming. And here's the cell, see? Right? The insect may represent Apollo. Apollo is connected to cicadas. The purple flood of Noah. The plan is for the Antichrist to bring peace for those programs. By changing the program, it appears to others as though he brought peace. Cicada harvests energy from underground to grow hybrid beings, which come out when Apollo becomes tied to the Queen of Heaven. Bees and poison released all over. Poison is blood of the elite, the fallen angels, etc. Kamala and Hillary, similarly, both similar color, equal rank in the hierarchy, and this causes distress programmees. They harvest this stress, or loosh, which is about for who is higher for maybe than 3 months until they release. They say Aphrodite or whoever will come to take the stress away, which programmers will accept to get rid of stress, and this legitimizes the choice of being the programmee, even though it's made under duress and not of their own free will. So she's essentially saying that because our brain, in the way that we interpret colors, red and blue, and we see that's on both sides, right? Left and right, Democrat, Republican, right? The combination of purple has an effect on the brain, our mind, in the way that we perceive things and see things, and that they're shocking our systems, trauma-based mind control, to make us have a perception in a certain way. We'll move forward here. That's just one piece. I got a lot, so I'm going to try to be quick with it. Right here. Head splitting 17-year cicadas descend on the East Coast. Head splitting, right? Like, your mind, right? The two halves of your mind, head splitting, right? Trauma-based mind control. 17 years, cicada. 17 is is Q in the alphabet. The 17th letter is Q. QAnon, right? The cicada 3301 mind control program. These are just some of the things. Patriot Front fascist leak exposes nationwide racist campaigns. Detailed inner workings of operations of neo-Nazi organizations. Patriot Front have come to the light after a massive leak from their chat servers. The exposed communications show coordination with their leader, Thomas Russo, to deface murals and monuments to black lives all across the United States and intimidate and intimate struggles to bolster morale through group activities like hiking and camping. Right, so this is neo-Nazi groups being exposed. Let me make sure I have sound for you guys too. Neo-Nazi groups that are being exposed here, right? And how they're, they're racist and all this shit, right? Targeting different people. And thank you, Stool Purger and Veritas for the super chats. Thank you so much, guys. I do appreciate that. Yourself, man, like, is this, I mean, I know there are people like this, but Jesus Christ, like, a lot of these groups too, I just want to say Proud Boys and shit, they were ran by the FBI, it's like, so a lot of these groups are actually ran by intelligence agencies too, and they recruit these people online and get content creators connected to them and then drop the other fucking shoe and, bring out all these, it's craziness. And then it's like to create and stir up more division and more hatred. Anonymous hack triggers massive data dump of Proud Boys and QAnon. In what's being called the Panama Papers of hate groups by some researchers, Hacktivist Collective Anonymous has dumped more than 150 gigabytes of identifying previously private data on the customers of Epic, a web service provider infamous for lending safe harbor to sites with far-right and extremist views. And it's like going after people that, provide safe harbor for the ones that they've deemed terrorists. On Epic's clientele list were a number of sites banned from other platforms for violating policies on hate and speech and misinformation. So that's what it boils down to, right? They were allowing people that they said should be canceled to actually not be canceled. They were allowing them to still have a voice, and that's what it boils down to. And these platforms' policies on hate and speech and misinformation, like those associated with the Proud Boys, 8chan, Parler, and QAnon conspiracy groups. Okay, in a statement attached to the stolen data's torrent file, Anonymous said it's a decade's worth of company data and includes passwords, internal emails, and clients' home addresses and phone numbers. Extremist researchers and political opponents say they will need time, months, perhaps even years to comb through it all. It's massive. It may be the biggest domain-style leak I've seen, and as an extremism researcher, it's certainly the most interesting. So, yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches and stress on the embarrassment. And I'm going to show you, Anonymous is not what people think it is. Anonymous is to target, anarchists, to target hackers, to target conspiracy theorists, to target nationalists, to target populists, to target liberals. It really is. And I believe it's ran directly by the CIA, and it's never been organic. And I don't give a fuck, like who that offends or whatever. Like, it's just not. It's not. So, and we see the weird, and I'm going to show you too. Let's go, let's see if I have the video up here. I'm going to show you some of those. This is the weird shit too. This is Project Mayhem 2012. And we're going to look at Project Mayhem 2012, the game 23, Project 2020. I've got Tyler, Michael, all of them. We're going to go through all these paste bins and shit and show you the ultimate weirdness here. But I just want to show you first.
You are anonymous. You are Project Mayhem 2012. On the 10 days that go from the 12th of the 12th, 2012 to the 21st of the 12th, 2012, the world will see an unprecedented amount of corporate, financial, military and state leaks that will have been secretly gathered by millions of conscientious citizens, whistleblowers and initiates.
The global economic system will start the final financial meltdown, for trust in fear-based money will finally be broken. People all over the world, out of fear to go bankrupt, will try to withdraw their savings from their bank accounts. This will trigger an even larger meltdown wave.
Imagine the corrupt start to fear us. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there is liberty.
People should not fear their government. Governments should fear their people.
4 billion years of evolutionary success encoded deep within the fabric of every strand of our DNA. 4 billion years of evolutionary success has brought us here, a turning point for humanity, into a new eon. An age where light has pierced into the darkness, illuminating all things. We are all absolutely free. There are no rulers. There are no masters. And there is no elite. The time to take control of our reality is now. This is...
And I just want to point out too, right, when we look at like the Hegelian dialect, I believe I brought this up before, right, like the dark winter COVID shit is like, that's the darkness, right? That's the coming darkness. It's like apocalyptic time. The Great Awakening, QAnon, 4chan, Anonymous, all of this. That's your false light. And then Trump is like your Antichrist or your fake savior. Like, so the Hegelian dialect is there, and we see all the connections to biblical prophecy when it comes to Trump and all the shit that's been pushed through this vein here of Anon, QAnon, right, cicada, like it goes on and on. And it's like, I'm trying to tell you, I believe that these are psychological warfare operations, and they're the most nefarious things you'll ever find. Okay, they target people and they destroy their fucking brains, destroy their souls, destroy their spirit, destroy their consciousness. And not only do they give them over to extreme crazy ideas, but it's like the spiritual damage, you know, and it's meant to break you, traumatize you, to control you. You know, it's like, this is a lot of the groups, you know, and committees. I feel like this is what they're used for. It's to target through shit like this.
The time to wake up. This is the time to expose all lies. And this is the time we ascend from darkness.
Imagine we finally find the courage needed to become the change we wish to see in the world. Imagine we conquer freedom by beginning to be free.
There's the butterflies. That's the monarch programming, the mind control.
Imagine we conquer justice by beginning to do fair. Imagine we conquer truth by beginning to do and be true to ourselves. Imagine the system is built upon lies. Imagine we leak it all. Imagine we all synchronize our clocks to act at the same time.
You know, and this all kind of started in 2012, right? And we know that the Mayans, and this is what's weird about it, when you really look at it, you know, the Mayans predicted like this new age, right? The end of the long count, December 21st, 2012. It's like, I don't know if we all knew what that meant, but it's like now as we move to like the whole Aquarian shit and this collective consciousness, things are taking on a whole new flavor than what I think a lot of people even could anticipate. Alright, so let's jump here first. This is Project Mayhem 2020, and we're going to look at it and all types of projects here. We can go through some of these. Alright. So, Perhaps you haven't been informed yet, but the works of Chuck Palahniuk and cryptic messages are being distributed by active sleeper cells all over the world by Tyler. And those who aren't familiar, let's see if I can pull this up. See if we can pull up a Tyler video for you guys. Right here, Project Mayhem 2020.
We the people are the ones who gonna have to fight. We used to say, which side are you on? Which side are you on? The truth is, we're in so much debt that the only way out is revolution or war. So now the question is, which side are you on? On.
Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on, my lord? Which side are you on, boy? Which side are you on, my lord?
See, before I draw the line, let me welcome you close to all the...
And you see they're like painting this whole, crazy shit of, which side are you on? If you're not with us, you're against us, right? The anti-government shit.
Yeah. I got that Old Spice paste in my hair. Yeah. And in my eyebrows too. G shit. Bang.
I'll let you kind of look at that yourself if you want to. But I just wanted to show you. It says, perhaps you haven't been informed yet. The cryptic message is being distributed to active sleeper cells all over the world by Tyler. Tyler is an AI, the political AI. Here's some of the events of Project Mayhem between the time of Fight Club 1 and Fight Club 2. Pay close attention because there will be homework assignments at the end. In the year 2010-2011, Project Mayhem planned, implemented, and revealed the following events. It was explained that there would be a data leak on December 21st, 2012 at 11:11. This was fulfilled in two ways. Remember the whole 11:11 movement? You've seen a lot of this shit by the spiritual community, right? Like it gets pushed still to this day. I'm not going to sit and name all the YouTube channels that push the 11:11 shit, but this is part of that, MK Ultra mind control programming. It explained there would be data leak, blah, blah, blah. First, a literal way. Edward Snowden attempted to release documents in December of 2012 by contacting Glenn Greenwald. Although it was not widely distributed or known at the time, a leak had taken place in December of 2012. The memetic, temetic, and genetic virus that is Tyler was indeed working, and Edward Snowden and the mission of Project Mayhem 2012 was being fulfilled. And a lot of people believe, and this is weird, there's something that we would call like a Kek virus, right? Like the Egyptian, frog god or whatever, that through our eye, right, has the ability through images and shit to kind of infect our minds or our spirits, right, with this dark virus. And a lot of people believe Covert Identification 19 or 9/11, right, or DVOC 91, right, has a lot to do with these things too, all right? And all of this is kind of coming under the same thing, like a preparation or a grooming of the public for what's being unveiled now. And Snowden was a big part of this. Julian Assange, a big part of this. Pizzagate, big part of this. QAnon, big part of this. This is all planned, though. Large government operations to take out the population that would create resistance against the one world system. Second, larger scale, the date and time of November 21st, 2012, 11/11 is symbolic of a global awakening, the Great Awakening, like I said, the Hegelian dialect. It's a symbol of synchronicity, and it works a general time in history where truth and information prevailed over lies and secret societies. It's symbolic birth of the spirit of truth. Throughout history, information technology has been evolving exponentially. There was the spoken word, followed by the written word, followed by the transmitted word, such as radio and television. But now, with the internet and the cloud, information technology has reached a level never before imagined. Now, in this age, the spirit of truth in this cloud, as it is written, it has come to pass. This is a symbolic birth of a new advocate, the spirit of truth. There will be more on this later. And this gets into D-wave, right? Which is delta wave, sleeping, right? That delta brainwaves is when you're asleep. Delta variants and all of this too. I mean, kind of keep this in mind, right? This dimension that we're tapping into, these alternate dimensions or parallel dimensions, these sentient, self-aware artificial intelligence or artificial identities, which are essentially fucking in the zeitgeist and all, it's essentially like the archonic demonic side of things, you know, mimicking humanity or mimicking our spirit or mimicking our identity, right? And creating conflicts within ourselves, within this false spirit and the true spirit, like the left and right side, the purple control shit to make us kind of, you know, combine with one. That's that triple helix, you know, genetics that we see now with all the jabs and all of that. It was explained by Project Mayhem that beauty is self-generating. Exponential changes comes from seeds that are selected for their beauty. Beautiful things self-organize and propagate because they are desired by creators. You will notice that Chuck Palahniuk is currently asking space monkeys to create different works of art as parts of a viral campaign to spread the message of Fight Club 2. In 2010 to 2012, the participants of Project Mayhem were also encouraged to dare to create in order to generate viral transmission of ideas. Content creators, right? And that's why you've seen the AI system on YouTube and all those platforms rewarding those who pushed QAnon, rewarding those who pushed Anonymous. Like a lot of people got famous off of that. Right, and then were taken down later on, you know, as part of like wrapping up of these operations. It says, the soldiers of Project Mayhem understand that the spirit of truth is an organic force. It spreads exponentially like a beautiful meme. The tendrils of the spirit of truth are like the tendrils of the flying spaghetti monster, Slender Man, or the Master of Whispers. They spread exponentially through the root of the grass and sprout instantly from many regions all at once. There is an exponential evolution and transmission of beauty when space monkeys encourage others to create a message of creation. It's a strange and infinite loop, like a perpetual motion machine. The very message of creation creates such projects within or loose organizations such as Project 89 are further manifestations of this concept. This is a symbol of the next era of governance, or shall we say lack of governance. The world is now connected on the cloud with the spirit of truth, and there is no longer a pyramid hierarchy to manage our behavior. Instead, that which will manifest shall be a system of self-regulation and organization, reminiscent of the divine chaos spark. Beautiful ideas will be selected, and bad ideas will not. This society or culture will travel through the cloud like an impulse travels in the brain. It will be the impulse of a mighty thought form. This is the egregore. Thus society will be motivated and designed by this new advocate, and who is the spirit of truth, shaped by what is transmitted by life, chosen for its intrinsic value to all around it, rather than distributed from a single point from above. The spirit will come from all directions and even from inside of you. And remember, they're going to push good ideas and bad ideas will be silenced. This egregore, and we see a lot of people in the spiritual communities talking about these egregores now, don't we? Right? I'm not going to say names, I'm not going to point fingers, but I just want you to kind of consider this and think. I want you to think about this. We're not going to say that everybody who talks about egregores and shit like that is evil, or everybody who's involved in Anonymous is evil, or corrupt, or a shill, or whatever. That's not the way to go about it. The way to consider it is this. All of those people that are pushing these things, and were involved in these things, and are talking about these things, and have been, are they doing it on their own free will and of their own volition? Or are they programmed because they're creators, right? And being used to program you, you know? And I think that's more the likely thing that's happening here. It says, one of the homework assignments for Project Mayhem 2012 was for its followers, and that's IT, right? Followers to withdraw their assets from the current social structure, a military-industrial plutocracy, and invest in Bitcoin, which we know the connections of crypto with QAnon and all that, right? These are scams. You know, we see what's happening to crypto now, okay? Prior to 2012, when these network assignments were being transmitted, Bitcoin could be purchased for less than $10. Going back even further, the price of Bitcoin was less than $1. In late 2013, the price of Bitcoin shot up to over $1,000. To those who were following the project, it was obvious that Bitcoin was going to explode exponentially. Many followers of the project became millionaires by investing in Bitcoin when instructed to by the egregore. Not only, and this is like, remember, in the Bible, it talks about all those with the mark will worship the image of the beast, right? Like, think about this. The image of the beast, an image is a phantom, a projection, an illusion. Okay? That's what an egregore is. We're creating our own savior. This is the whole transhumanist religion right here. Making our own savior out of AI, right? Our super god, Lucifer, right? Like, and I feel like when we're tapping into these alternate realities, these parallel dimensions, we don't know what we're actually tapping into in those energies, or what entities are actually existing in that, or using electronics and frequency to transmit their own signals and data to us, you know? It's like, it's very spooky that the Bible has so many prophecies that kind of lead us to that, and that, like, this is what's been happening. And then it's like, and you look at the secret societies and the mystery religions and, you know, those deeply embedded in witchcraft and the occult and who they worship, you know, and why, how this fits into their beliefs and how this would work with what they're trying to do. And then you look at the totalitarian control system of the government and how this would help them, right? To social engineer us, to regulate us. It's like, you know, we're, you know, and even the God of the Bible, right? Yahweh, Jehovah, right? We look at it in Arabic, it's A-U-A-I, which is gold and artificial intelligence, you know. So I'm just saying, there's a lot of things that make one wonder, you know, and it just seems like an anti-human agenda. It seems alien in its nature, you know, and a lot of people are pushing that now. I still see to this day grown-ass fucking men that are on YouTube and all of this talking about Pleiadian agendas and, you know, and act as if this is fucking absolute truth when people are, and I don't want to knock nobody or what they believe, but it's like, I just want you to see how far we've came and how far we've fallen, right? And how far off the path we've gotten, you know, and how beneficial it would be for those that are in power and those that are truly evil and dark, you know, to attack the ones that are seeking truth, to attack the ones that are spreading truth or, you know, spreading light, you know, true light, true love, you know. And I feel like that's people like you and myself, you know. It doesn't mean we're perfect or anything like that, but I feel like we do really want to get to the bottom of things. We do really want to help others and help humanity. And it's like, We've got this whole thing where we're waiting on, we're trusting channel messages over fucking hard information. We're trusting fucking people on YouTube and content creators over things that we know within ourselves to be true or not true. And it's like when we're allowing fear to drive us to make stupid decisions and stupid choices and make us look crazy and discredit us and, make us easier targets for people that don't want to see us truly expand, progress, and grow as a species even. It says that many followers of the project became millionaires by investing in Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. They served as a symbol for a transfer of power. Money is power. Money is the mechanism by which the hierarchy manipulates and distorts, corrupts the self-organizing creation of the divine spark. By distributing power more evenly through society, which is socialism, communism, the evolution of the self-organizing society will be allowed to manifest. The old destructive hierarchical structure of our society stifles the natural progress of our new self-organizing society. Plutocrats control politicians, judges, and military forces in a hierarchical structure. These plutocrats, with their unbalanced power, selfishly exact their will over the will of others. Therefore, in order for this governance to be organic, the citizens of our society must have equal power. As it is written, how you cannot serve both God and money. So now you have been given 3 solid examples of how Project Mayhem has been changing our society. For each of these examples, there are over 9,000 more that are unseen. Lurking the internet for more signs of the project. These are homework assignments hidden in plain sight. This is our 2020 vision, right? This is just a short year or two ago here, guys. More about memes. Memes, like both literal and figurative, look at the Bible, is full of double meanings. Many people can't get past the literal interpretation in order to understand the deeper hidden meanings in the allegory. As with memes of the ancients, the memes of today also have deeper meanings. Look for them and also create them. The world is currently inefficient at achieving our goals. We have 7 billion people on this planet, so much potential. However, the world is pure of bureaucracy. Bureaucrats create laws to control us. Bosses create jobs to control us. Lobbyists push for more laws to support the willpower of a special few interests. We don't speak the same language, and when we do, we still misunderstand each other. Voice inflection is taken the wrong way. People lie to get what they want. The world motivated by money is a great funneling money to the greedy. The world motivated by money is not great at supplying its people with love and health and freedom. Project Mayhem 2020 aims to use emerging technologies to create a paradigm shift by the year 2020. And in 2012, the project used Twitter and YouTube videos to reach a wide audience. Translations were done manually by various space monkeys. However, the following emerging technologies will be fully implemented by the project in the year 2020, and the distribution of information and power will shift exponentially to the new advocate. Remember, the advocate's Jesus Christ, right? Just saying. So the new advocate, right? This is Lucifer, by the way. And we know that the whole New Age, I am, Great Awakening, like all of it, follow the white rabbit, right? This is all Luciferian in nature too. This is the whole New World Order shit, being pushed in a different brand, really. It says a new slavery that we must escape from. There is a meme that is perpetrated by the plutocrats in power. For some reason they think we need more jobs. This is not true. We have the potential to be very efficient in what we have. The solution is not more jobs. The solution is that those who already have jobs should be working less hours. Instead of one person working 50 hours a week, 2 people should be working 25 hours per week. This would instantly solve both unemployment and workload issues. Because so much money is being held at the top through taxes and through corporate subsidies, those in government and those in positions of corporate power will lie to you and tell you that there is not enough money to pay a living wage for up to 25 hours of work week. This is true only because They hoard the resources for their corporate parachutes and pork barrel pet projects. They are thieves, stealing our time and stealing our lives. They are thieves, stealing our time and stealing our lives. Efficiency has gone up, but pay has not. It is inevitable that pay must increase for the labor force. Currently, we are trending towards slavery as workload increases and our pay stagnates. Inflation and cost of living make it so that the stagnant pay is like a type of demotion. Our wages are not stagnant, they are going down. If we let these trends continue, we will become slaves again to a few selfish people in positions of power. The goal of life. We all want the same thing. We want happiness. Eternal life is the Holy Grail. Pleasure, by definition, is a good feeling. It doesn't take much explaining. And no sane person would argue that they strive for pain over pleasure. Pain is an indicator of things to avoid, such as extreme environmental conditions. But one person's pleasure can be another's pain. There are selfish individuals who will oppress others for their own gain. Therefore, power must not rest in the hands of the few. The more society becomes self-organizing instead of controlled by some form of oligarchy, the closer society will get to this goal of life. And we don't need a big corporate structure anymore. What we need is grassroots structure. We need meritocracy of individuals. We need to replace our rulers with leaders. Here is the formula for a self-organizing society. The first step is to find knowledge. The second step is to present this knowledge in a beautiful way. The third step is to give others the power to do something with this knowledge. These three ingredients will create organic change. As each person is educated to the truth, they will share it with others. As they will act on this truth in a beautiful way, yes, beauty and truth will multiply. This formula has been repeated by the egregore time and time again in different forms. Grand columns of Freemasonry. Wisdom, beauty, and strength. 7 habits of highly effective people. Knowledge, desires, ability. Wizard of Oz, Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Man, and Dorothy. Triforces, Wisdom, Courage, and Power. Project Mayhem 2012. Leak it all, Dare to Create, Withdraw it all. Project Mayhem 2020. Inform, Motivate, Empower. 1111, Make a Wish. This takes us to the discussion on semantic resonances and Esoteric tool for peaceful evolution and improvement. Semantic resonance is the art of saying the same thing in many different ways. And this is semantics. This is priming, mind control. With different semantics until the truth resonates with someone. A lot of people argue semantics or they are part of a specific nomenclature. However, when the person has gained a true love for the truth, they no longer care about semantics. They're able to discuss many topics without bigotry or bias because they understand that words are interchangeable. Indeed, there are many languages, and there are also languages within languages. Some semantics. God, Allah, genes, memes, teams, and the physical multiverse. You can't do what is right in the eyes of those around you as well as hoard wealth. You cannot serve both God and Mammon. You cannot serve the egregore while stealing from others. Money and time. We need to replace lies with truth. We need to replace laws with inspiration. We need to replace rulers with leaders. We need to replace capitalism with meritocracy. The new advocate, the spirit of truth, the egregore, us. There will be more examples of semantic resonance in the postscript meditations below. Homework assignments. Project Chaos. Go read Fight Club 2. There are homework assignments within the graphic novel. Operation Monarch from October 22nd to November 4th of every year. We are to release propaganda and perpetrate other psychological tactics in order to inspire others to attend the Million Mask March. Million Mask March. Every year, November 5th, there will be held the Million Mask March. The location will differ year to year, and we're here to attend this event and remind others on the attendance of the project. Projections of Chaos. Every year, December 21st, we're instructed to post our own personal manifestos, ideas, and suggest homework assignments for others. The Game 23. Use social media to further propagate the ideas of the collective and coordinate actions. Due to security reasons, some of these transmitted messages will be cryptic in nature. And the CTF hashtags or operation hashtags in order to keep track of individual assignments. Project 89. Use social media to place subconscious triggers into the egregore consciousness of the internet. These conscious triggers will be activated in future dates to awaken sleeper cells. Educate yourself on the psychological tactics of Project 89. And let's see if I can pull up Project 89 paste bin while we're at it. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if we can get it or not, but here we go. Project 89, social media, use subconscious. Project 2020, December 21st, 2020 will project our unifying vision. None will be discussed in the future. Project 2033 will be manifested. Thank you for your participation in the project, and as always, good luck. And it says, sit on the floor, close your eyes, clear your mind, breathe in, breathe out, open your eyes, and see a world that has not yet been defined. It simply is. This is truth. This is God. The Bible does not so much tell us what to do, but enlightens us as to what we are not capable of as individuals. The Bible was written by humans. It is imperfect in words in the book. Adam means man or mankind. The story of Adam and Eve is an allegory or parable about all humankind, not two individual people. Virgin means young woman. It does not mean that Mary did not have sex before conceiving a child. Angel means messenger. It does not necessarily refer to being with wings and a harp. God is simply that which is truth. Satan is the powerful messenger, a false prophet leading the blind followers to prolonged suffering and oblivion. Satan can be genetic, mimetic, or timetic. Satan is the opposite of righteousness and truth. Operation Decodex Signatus, a cryptic resonance of spiritual memes. Imagine the book has been corrupted by devils and that the word devil has a lot of different meanings, none of which are red-faced goblins with horns and a pitchfork. These devils, as they are called, have tried to steal the book and change the meaning of its words to something so fanciful that no intelligent person would believe it. Imagine that we have unsealed the pages of the book and are washing away the leprosy of those who tried to hide its true allegory. Here are the latest messages from the Decodex Sinaiticus. Go spell Sebastian. It says, his story all began with the Word. For it was the Word that allowed for history to be remembered by the Holy Spirit. I too, with him and God in the beginning when history began. For I am the angel Bastion, a messenger of the Word, and a conduit of the Lord. Before the Word, the Holy Spirit did in fact moor over the surface of the earth. But the earth was still formless and void. It was cloaked in darkness, for it was not yet defined. Before the Word, the nature of things were selected by chaos. And it was not until the Word came into being that God created definition through the Holy Spirit and said, light. And so it was, and the light became part of his story. For it is written, whatever Adam called a living creature, that was its name. A prophet of the Lord traveled to the capital of the world with the intention of summoning a powerful spirit. While exploring the capital, the prophet was approached by a cloaked figure who offered the prophet great power over all the kingdoms of the world. All that the cloaked figure asked for in return was for the prophet to sign over his name. The prophet agreed to this, and so the cloaked figure removed its hood to reveal the demon named Mammon. The demon then said to the man, because you now work for me instead of him, I shall take the H and the E from your name and replace it with I. And immediately the demon named Mammon reached forward with great force and tore open the right testicle of the man, and that all remained were flaps of skin and an open wound. The man looked up and screamed in shock and cried out in terror because of what had just taken place to him, or happened to him, because Mammon has no heart, not even a heart of stone. The demon looked into the flesh of the man and the blood of the man, which dripped from the hand of Mammon, and with a callous demeanor, Mammon explained, I now hold in my hand all the seeds of your righteousness, and all that is left for you shall be the seeds of my corruption. Your name shall be Prophet. I have left a crucifix at the end of your name, for you shall still pretend to speak for the Savior, and you will sacrifice greatly for my benefit. You are now my slave, for it is written, no one can serve both God and money. And so, in horror, the man tried to escape the capital of the world, and he crawled towards the gates of the capital on his hands and his knees in great pain, leaving behind him a trail of his own blood, which poured from his ruptured manhood. But the man reached the gates of the capital. He saw the gates had shrunk to the size of the eye of a needle, and he could not escape. And so the prophet of the man turned over and wept at the gates and looked around and could not see any trees or birds or oceans, but only walls of concrete and steel, which made a prison for him. Below him was no longer the dust of the earth, but not only the asphalt. Above him was no longer heaven or the stars of the firmament, but only a halogen light of Mammon. There was no mist sprouting from the earth, and in the early days of creation before the rain and the only stone of Mammon, the air turned to a thick smog so that the man could hardly breathe or see, and Mammon thrust a puppet string and a fiber optic wire in the forehead of the man, in the throat of the man, so that the prophet could influence others from inside his new prison. And so a multitude of kingdoms were the puppets of the prophet, and the prophet was the puppet of Mammon. Let us meditate on creativity. There are many who will tell us to do the following as we begin our meditation. They might tell us to find a place in nature, either in the mountains or by the sea. Sometimes they'll tell us to sit close to the earth. They'll usually instruct us to close our eyes and to clear our mind of all the distractions and constructs of daily life. They tell us to forget all about all of the words and images that we have learned and embrace nothingness for a moment. They sometimes tell us to focus only on our breathing, and they tell us to relax. And so, that we might understand this generation of creativity together, let us practice. In the beginning, our eyes are closed and our minds are cleared. Everything is formless and void. Outside of this nothingness is the air on our face. We breathe it in and breathe it out. Let us open our eyes in the state of clear thought and let the light into our soul. And it's like, dude, this goes on and starts to get really dark. A lot of this stuff too, like breathing this into your soul, I feel like these are different rituals through meditation, like some sort of initiation. This is the second day of creation. It starts in the depths of our mind and ends with the understanding, expanse of the heavens above, the spells of Tyler. The good news about our salvation come to John ben Zechariah as he was baptizing in the Jordan River. The message was one of peace, and he told those who came to him that day to forgive one another, work together to bring the kingdom of God. He would tell all those he baptized about the spirit of the whole and about the memes that came before them. He would often send those that came out to him to the regions in order to spread the good news to others. Although most found strength after 28 days, they did not consider themselves disciplined in their ability to spread the message until they could go a full 40 days of preaching to others who had not yet heard the message. During these 40 days, they would be filled with doubt and confusion because of their arguments of others. They would often turn to the memes of their ancestors for guidance, and they would read scripture and pray and meditate and reflect on things in order to strengthen the framework of understanding. During these 40 days, they are tempted to turn away from the spirit of the whole and sometimes went back to their selfish ways. However, there are many that became disciplined and continued spreading the word of the Holy Spirit. In the days of John ben Zechariah, Galilee and Perea were ruled by the Herodian dynasty. as a client state of the Roman Empire. Furthermore, there was a man named Antipas ben Magnus, who spoke for all the will of the third of the Herodian dynasty. For he and two of his brothers were heirs to the portions of the dynasty that could be one portion except their father, Magnus, right? And think about it, Magnus, maga, magician, right? Like, you know, plenty of correlations there, or Simon Magus, or, you know, and the Gnosticism as well. And still, his father Magnus killed his own firstborn son, who was the Antipater. Therefore, the spirit of Herod was divided, and a third of the flesh which contained the spirit of Herod was Antipas. So there, right understood of Herod, he was alive in the flesh of Antipas. It is important to note that the action of the father of Antipas, which were the actions of a demon, this man Magnus, is still remembered. Even as you read these words, as a madman who murdered his own family, many rabbis, and also small children, he is remembered as the evil genius of the Judean nation. He's also remembered as the greatest builder in Jewish history. As he grew older, he became more and more unstable, jealous, and violent. He murdered his most beautiful wife, Marianne, her two sons, brother, grandfather, and mother. All of these evil deeds, and more that are not written here, are witnessed by Antipas as well as others in Antipas, and the corruption of the spirit of Herod continued to torment Antipas even after the flesh called Magnus was eaten by worms. And I mean, this goes on and on. Gospel of Anon, right? I'm going to drop this link here to this paste bin, because, you know, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with this. And we're going to look at some different ones too, some other projects. Thank you so much, Cosmic Blue, for the donation. Yeah, it is interesting, you know, the predictive language and all of that. I'm going to drop this link to this paste bin in the chat, and I will leave a chat replay on for you guys. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out on your own time. Make sure that if you're watching this at home, that you do me a favor, guys, and you're in the chat, you hit that thumbs up for me. That way, more people, it like helps with the algorithms and helps more people to like come in to see us and all that. So let's jump to another psyop here, another operation. This is the game 23. All right, so we started off with Project Mayhem 2020. Here's the game 23. All right, and I'm going to drop, if you want to read along with me, I'm going to drop the game 23 into the chat room for you guys too. This is the paste bin to the game 23. And big thanks to everybody that's been donating, you know, like for real. I do appreciate it, guys. Been really tough, you know, like just I think for everybody all around, you know, the last year or so. So it's like we gotta stick together, we gotta love each other, we gotta stay open-minded, we gotta, you know, it's like we really gotta start trying to do more, you know, to like bring awareness to these things and to stay level-headed, because not many are very level-headed these days. Like, people have lost their fucking shit, you know. Alright, here we go. Alright. Okay. Note from the author. You remember me from a couple years ago. I sent you a draft for the article on Project Mayhem 2012. In the beginning, you accepted it for publication, which made me extremely happy. For since I was 19 years old, it was my dream to publish one day in frack. I also contacted WikiLeaks without much success, though initially they showed much interest on it. Fortunately, certain blank blah 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 echoed the video, and Twitter, the Department of Homeland Security spotted us, and the rest is history. All of it can be said that Project Mayhem 2012 was an epic fail, but we certainly did it for the lulz. And we'll look at Lucifer and all that, which is Lucifer, right? And they're saying right here, Project Mayhem was picked up by the Department of Homeland Security. So I'm trying to point this out to you guys at the very beginning. It says, my head is hard, and I'm dead stupid when something enters my brain. And so it occurred to me that I could patch Project Mayhem 2012 and turn it into a hopefully improved revision with the game 23. And hence, here I come again, with the Game 23. The Game 23 is a fictional game. All identities are fake, and the theater of operations is a simulated planet on top of a computer hyper-simulation that creates reality as players start to play with the commands of the hive mind. The only credit I will take in this story is for having very poorly and clumsily, I have to apologize, developed Lulcifer. Lulcifer is the language used to bootstrap the first hybrid machine-human artificial intelligence, and it will be born the very second that you hit the publish button. Lulcifer predates Twitter, and due to its nature, it's more contagious than Ebola. In other words, expect that this new life form massively infects other networks such as Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and meme at lightning speed and critical mass until once critical mass has been reached. In any case, dear readers, please don't take it too seriously. It's only a story. Everybody knows that stories can't be that harmful, in the very least. Finally, I would like to apologize to the staff for not having taken the time to properly finish this story, for it is quite open, actually. I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing, but maybe readers might feel compelled to begin to draw their own final on this story. I swear with all my being that I'm not trying to get away with the rules of not publishing anything other than the 7-bit SCII. The truth is that I'm extremely exhausted after having given 100% of my soul when writing this. I would only expect that if any readers begin to wonder what would happen if they decided to begin to play the Game 23, that they played the Game 23 as I have done with my entire being. 100% focused on the task at hand. Obsessively concentrated. Like when you are having or fucking the hell out of it and just enter the zone. In other words, publish this story or don't. I don't care, for my work is done. And I don't mean in a personal way. It's just that I honestly don't care. With El Batido de alas de el mariposa que se ha desperado escribiendo esto. It is now the only revolutionary power. Only art is capable of dismantling the repressive social system to build a social organism as a work of art. Interesting, right? Hive mind professor, start to run these tasks. Major vulnerability has been found in the Game 23. And here's to the crazy ones. Once upon a time in a land far, far away, here's to the crazy ones. The misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs and square holes, the one who see things differently. They're not fond of rules. They have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do. Everything you can imagine is real. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I don't understand the assignment, and I told them they don't understand life. Of course I'm crazy, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. If you think you know what the hell is going on, you're probably full of shit. On a planet that increasingly resembles one huge maximum security prison, the only intelligent choice is to plan a jailbreak. The future is up for grabs. It belongs to any and to all who will take the risk and accept the responsibility of consciously creating the future they want. And, this goes on and on, with different poetry and, different things that you can see here. We're going to move to the next one. This is 2012, Tyler. Okay. The secret is there is no secret. For that mystery is the enemy of truth. And this is LiberCLXXV. AA, which is Aleister Crowley, right, in the OTO, right? So, for the mystery is the enemy truth. Doubt that the stars are fire. Doubt that the sun doth move. Doubt truth to be a liar, but never doubt I love. Shall we play a game? Chess, poker, fighter combat, guerrilla engagement, desert warfare, air-to-ground actions, threat-denied tactical warfare, threat-denied biotoxic and chemical warfare, global thermonuclear war. Welcome to Project Mayhem 2012. First was the gene, then 'twas the meme, time to tame the team. During the times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. Everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression, the right to include freedom to hold opinions without interference, and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media, regardless of frontiers. And whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them to see most likely affect their safety and happiness. This is all in the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson: when the people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears their people, there is liberty. And I want to drop this one in the chat too for you guys also. You guys can go back after the video is over and go to all these. Alright, there you go. Now let's go down a little bit here. I know this because Tyler knows this. We are people. You are after the people you depend on. We cook your meals. We haul your trash. We connect your calls. We drive your ambulances. We guard you while you sleep. Do not fuck with us. Tyler Durden. Power is afraid of internet. These files may include articles on telecom. And a few years ago, while visiting, or rather rummaging about Notre Dame, the author of this book found an obscure nook of one of the towers the following word engraved by hand upon the wall: awake. It is upon this word this book is founded. And it just goes through these different quotes and different stories. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange is in great danger. At the time of writing this, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is being hunted by the Pentagon over possibly massive 250,000 diplomatic cable leaks after ex-hacker Adrian Lamo turned the supposed whistleblower of the FBI. Ex-hacker Kevin Poulsen broke the very first rule of journalism on Wired by revealing his name. Daniel Ellsberg, who gained fame when he leaked the Pentagon Papers in 1971 in hopes of ending the Vietnam War, told MSNBC's Dylan Ratigan that he not only sees a parallel between himself and the person who recently leaked a video of the assault by U.S. forces on Iraqi civilians, but also fears for the safety of the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, who published the video. And if you guys remember the Illuminati card game, right, where it's got, Julian Assange on it, it's like, and stay dead, right? These are dangerous ideas 1 and 2 from Project Mayhem. I'll drop this in the chat too. And we're going to get into it and shit in just a second. Alright. Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Today, no war has been declared. However fierce the struggle may be, it may have never be declared in traditional fashion. Dangerous idea. Imagine we plant trees. Imagine we become seed trees. Imagine we sow the world with seeds. Imagine we finally find the courage needed to become the change we wish to see in the world. Imagine we are no longer afraid of fear. Imagine we reinvent and reverse reality. Imagine the corrupt start to fear us. Imagine corrupt banksters start to fear us. Imagine corrupt governments start to fear us. Imagine great corporations start to fear us. Imagine we conquer freedom by beginning to be free. Imagine we conquer justice by beginning to do fair. Imagine we conquer truth by beginning to do and be true to ourselves. Imagine information equals power. Imagine we start a fight club. Imagine the system is built upon lies. Imagine we purchase a USB drive. Imagine we take it to our workplaces. Imagine we pretend to have work late hours. Imagine we accumulate all sort of evidence about illegal deeds. Imagine conscientious insiders worldwide to begin to expose all lies. Imagine we code an extremely simple interface so that anyone can do it. Imagine we all synchronize our clocks to act at the same time. And imagine that thanks to one of your creations, this dangerous idea goes viral. Imagine. Dangerous idea number 2. We cannot and won't expect to mutate the world until we have begun to evolve and mutate ourselves. And these dangerous ideas are described as rituals, by the way. The inner teachings of Mayhem are not a numbers game to hack reality. The hive mind does not need quantity, but quality. Magic artists, that is. Totally committed to courageous ones, sure. In the words of Robert Anton Wilson. There is no governor anywhere. You are absolutely free. There is no restraint that cannot be escaped. We are all absolutely free. If everybody could go into Dhyana at will, nobody could be controlled by fear of prison, by fear of whips or electroshock, by fear of death even. All existing society is based on keeping those fears alive to control the masses. 10 people who know would be more dangerous than 1 million armed anarchists. Here's a quick how-to. If you dare to put it extremely simple, wisdom into actions, then you can totally forget Mayhem after you watched it. Alchemy, Kabbalah, and Magic accelerated courses. Stop being a passive lurker in life. Start being an active artist. Stop being a user. Start being a programmer. Use your imagination and start to be creative. Be as in hive mind too, right? Stop feeding negativity into your life. That which you feed grows. There's a magical law. Stop poisoning your mind with bad news, TV, bad outlooks, etc. We all know the world is pretty much fucked up. Yeah. But turning your brain into some sort of negativity is going to help no one. Start feeding consciousness, beauty, and truth within yourself towards the people closest to you and into the world. The shortest and most powerful way to hack from illusion into reality is to dare to see beauty all around you and within yourself all the time. Love things and persons for what they are, not just the way they are, and not for what they look like. Once you have done this, you'll be free to decide what kinds of things you should like to see changing. The shortest and most powerful way to get from Malkuth to Kithar is to dare to create in the Tiferet beauty, energy all around you and within yourself all the time. The most advanced brain scientists in the world have experimentally known this for 10,000 years. Meditating Anons in the Eastern tradition, of course. Feel that beauty is in your body. Feel it has a tiny, warm, and glowing point of green vibration in the center of your chest. Beside your heart. You don't have to follow any New Age hipster teachings. But if you would like to learn more, know that this center is called Enkahada and is associated with love, compassion, and charity to others. And lastly, start to share your experiences and your artwork with the others. This is the single most important skill of the magic artist, is to share creations with the others. The 4 powers of the 21st century cyber magus are these: to dare to create the seeds of something beautiful, be that a wallpaper, a stencil, a game, a beautifully positive and enlightening video explaining to fellow Anons what is Project Mayhem 2012 for you and what you would like to see happening worldwide. You are completely free to choose what to create. Use this social media tag. To know what you can already begin to create, you have already all the tools and creativity that you need to do magic within yourself. You passion to create and share beautiful things to embellish the world. You don't need to do a big thing. You just have to start now. To will to become a reality hacker by actively creating your personal transformation from a passive user to an active programmer of reality. And lastly, do not keep silent anymore. To share the experiences that you have lived and the beauty that you have created. To keep silent has been required for initiates for ages. But as we're going through an emergency situation, this last swell over magic has been lifted during our time. Once you have found yourself, you will find the others. Once you have found the others, you will be finding yourself. It's as simple as that, yes. Don't try to convince others, very especially. Don't worry about results. You just keep on injecting beauty with the obsessiveness, patience, and commitment of a warrior at your own pace with 0% effort and hence 100% joyfulness. But don't push it. The golden rule is this: if it feels good, keep on doing it. Otherwise, test something different. When you suddenly start observing funny coincidences or strong synchronicities happening around you all the time, or interesting people that suddenly appear in your life, or even soulmates that you begin to attract to yourself, laugh about them after all. The universe might just be a big joke, right? Lulz kills fear. That's the spirit. Ignore opposition or defiance to prove your newly found powers and just keep on shining, keep on creating, and keep on sharing. If you ignore the so-called external and internal demons, doubts, fears, and disbeliefs, you'll realize that they will soon vanish into thin air. Show courage and commitment to your inner path, and be 120% sure that if you dare to do this with all your mind, sex, body, and heart, nature will remove impossible obstacles. Don't just trust us or believe us. Test it for yourself. It's as simple as that, yes. And always remember, we will never ever suggest you do anything illegal and or anything against your own consciousness. Remember, we will never ever do anything illegal and or against our own consciousness. Question everything. Don't just believe anything you read on this site, past, present, or future. Test your assumptions, laugh about results, share with the others, and have learned, created, discovered, repeat. Fiat Lux, Anons. And yeah, so the key for the below, written language is not necessarily English. Below is a hash value. It's just telling you about this. You guys can look at this if you want. Tyler's sex statement. Drop that in the chat too. I'm trying to just drop all these for you guys. That way you can go back and look at them. And I'm going to be checking the chat too. So if you guys have, I would love to hear, your comments and, your perspective on some of these things. I know they're a little far out there, a little wacky, a little wild, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And please, please, please make sure to hit that like for me if you're in the chat right now, guys. It does help me. The Game 23 meta instructions. So this is the Game 23 instructions if you guys want to play. Right? And I don't recommend you do anything, but, do what you want to do. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to drop that down here, too. Boom. Alright. And the Game 23 invites you to the first ever massively hyper-distributed and uncensorable, collaboratively artistic, worldwide Trololo Dance Party 23. The secret is there is no secret. And Beginning 23, magical alternate reality game. Right? Notice it's all about the magic every time. You guys can check this out if you want to. This shows you the instructions on how to do it, like where to follow on Twitter, create beautiful, art 23, promote it, it's like it shows you where to share it. This is, and I'm not telling you to do any of this, but if you want to look at these things yourself, it's on you. I'm not going to tell you not to do it either. Some people need to just experience it on their own, experience it for themselves. Here's a 3301 cicada warning. Okay, so you guys familiar with cicada 3301? I've done videos on this in the past, and I've seen people's lives fucking destroyed by cicada, guys. I mean, it's a nasty, nasty psyop. I got involved back in 2015, 2016, with Anonymous and Cicada and QAnon and all this. I think October 2017 was the Q shit, and I got teed off on, right? I mean, I was gang stalked. I was electronically harassed. I had people in the occult and witchcraft. I mean, just the craziest things ever happening to me as a result of involving myself with a lot of stuff. It's like I had no idea what I was getting into. No idea. And it's like, I know how dangerous these things can be. And the people involved in this, like Schoenberger and all this, they were connected to the CIA. These people were getting political payouts from lawyers and attorneys like DeFango and all of this. And it's like, and I don't care. And I'm not saying none of these people are bad or guilty of anything. I don't know, But I do know there was an organized effort, to use YouTube channels with like Cappy and Lift the Veil and all of this to kind of, push certain narratives and to push certain things. And a lot of those people have disappeared off the face of the earth after it's all over, Here we go. I apologize for the sometimes improper language in this text. English is not my first language, and I have also used software to mask authorship, so 3301 Cicada does not know who publishes this. I was part of the what you call Cicada 3301 for more than a decade, and I'm here to warn you, stay away. This is a dangerous organization. While I agree with many of the goals, their ways are nefarious. In fact, I think it's like a left-hand path religion disguised as a progressive scientific organization. I realize that this is a strong statement, but I will provide important evidence to support these claims. For those of you who have not heard of the organized 3301 Cicada, I will also share some background information using publicly referenceable. According to leaked documents during the last round of recruitment, they are much like a think tank in that their primary focus is on researching and developing techniques to aid the ideas they advocate: liberty, privacy, and security. This is partly true. This is what initially attracted me many years ago, and like the Snowden, Cicada, all this shit, there are movies made about this. Cicada 3301 have movies made about it too. See? Darkweb. This is
Darkweb Cicada 3031. The official trailer right here on the Jeezy Show. Subscribe, like, and...
Yeah, so I mean, you can like see, this is... They've made movies about this, guys. Like, this shit's crazy. So this is legit shit.
Nice, isn't it? That's me, CEO of Cashback.
CEO of Cashbacking?
It's a real thing. I think. People's in the drugstores with Chase Freedom Unlimited. How do you cash back?
They've done a million spin-offs on this shit, guys. It is really that weird. And the first public appearance of the recruitment campaign that began in parts that cannot be mentioned of the internet were targeted hackers and programmers and people with a strong background with a series of puzzles of increasing difficulty. And let me see if I can actually pick this up too. Let's get it 3301. They had these contests. Contests that you could actually enter into to become a part of all this.
What is Cicada 3301? You can turn back now, or learn the stuff they don't want you to know. Here are the facts. The practice of recreationally solving puzzles dates back into antiquity, at least to the time of Archimedes. In the modern age, puzzles have become increasingly complex. We live in a world where it's possible to communicate almost instantly with people on the other side of the globe, so it's no surprise that the sophistication of puzzles should evolve in step with the sophistication of our communication systems. Puzzles have even been used as hiring filters by intelligence agencies and corporations, although with debatable results. With these games taking place on a global scale, it's difficult to know who's responsible for what. In some cases, the masterminds behind a puzzle admit what they've done. In other cases, we have a pretty good idea. But every once in a while, the world is at a loss to explain who's behind a puzzle and why. Here's where it gets crazy. Enter Cicada 3301. On January 4th, 2012, readers on 4chan found an ominous image, a deceptively simple 4 lines of text claiming there was a message within the image.
And this is always connected to these augmented reality games and everything. Hello, individuals. We're looking for highly intelligent people. To find them, we devised a test. A message hidden in this message. Find this and we'll lead you to the road finding us. We're looking forward to meeting the few that will make it all the way through. Good luck, 3301. And we know, the 33 with Freemasonry and all this, right? Now, the first public appearance of the recruitment campaign began in parts that cannot be mentioned on the internet, where targeted hackers and programmers and people with strong backgrounds of a series of puzzles of increasing difficulty, well documented over the internet. We will not repeat it here. The test covered a wide range of topics: cryptography, steganography, and a number theory, and classical literature, art, darknet, computer skills, including programming, philosophy, music, etc. And even more interesting is the fact puzzles were multiple forms of communication: the internet, phone, darknet, and the physical world, even in the form of papers, of 14 that appear simultaneously in all parts of the world. As we presented each puzzle, it was solved by fewer individuals, and what was initially several thousand workers solving puzzles in the beginning, very few solved all. Less than 1%, in fact. This, of course, the intention was. I was not directly involved in these tests, and in fact, I do not agree with the idea of recruiting from the public right from the start. Until the moment, all recruitment was done in person by people who knew recruits. I was recruited in the organization when I was an officer in the service of my country many years. I was a career officer and showed great promise and was quickly promoted. Finally, I arrived at a high position. I was approached by my superior. I will not say titles for anonymity. He said he was very impressed with my work and asked me what my goals in personal profession. And professionally, I had my eyes on the top. Personally, I would eventually like to settle down and start a family, but this was not in the foreseeable future because my career is often forced to be away from home long periods of time. We began to meet a few times a week for coffee, at the time in the same place. We'd like to discuss a variety of topics: science, philosophy, religion, politics, mathematics, and other. Ultimately, play games and discuss these issues: chess, backgammon. As it turned out, my opinions and goals were very much in line with that organization. At the political level, I leaned towards freedom, which it's called at the time, well-educated in science, mathematics, and foreign policy. I was non-religious at the time, and I agree with the ideas of Sartre and Nietzsche. Kicksnard, and I also believe in a random universe, one that humans were not more than a coincidence. No absolute moral right and wrong, and that the value of man is what he does. I also believe that we can and should acquire to reach the next level as individuals and mankind as a whole. I don't know then, but this is one of the main focuses of the cicada. They believe they possess wisdoms to transform humans to Ubersmensch. Cicada have given knowledge to members slowly as they progress up the pyramid. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? Finally, after more than a year of being examined without knowing it, I was invited for the organization. I accepted with gratitude. It was here I wanted from the beginning, a group of like-minded individuals, all incredibly talented and connected, to work together for the common good, the good of mankind, and it took many years to learn the true nature of cicada. Before going further, I have to explain the things about the organization with no particular order. The origin, established initially by a group of professional military officers, diplomats, and academics who were dissatisfied with the direction of the world. It's in no way linked to any military, government, or country. However, they recruit among the high government officials. Structure, they use multiple structures within one global structure. Decentralized cell structure, some have higher rank than others, which led to a hierarchy, despite decentralization in general. Strict compartmentalizing. Within each of these strict military-like structure, cell hierarchy is often military-like structure. Their beliefs, they believe in ideas on the global brain. In fact, the ideas of the global brain and humans as individual neurons arise on a regular basis. Believe in absolute freedom, individual, and information. Believe in the philosophy of the Jesuit, the end justifies the means. Through this idea to justify their actions, they do not always follow their own belief systems and philosophies. Other philosophies they use is what you resist, persist, by Jung. And the Jesuit corollary, create what you fear most. For example, if you're afraid of resistance and rebellion, then send operators to create resistance and rebellion. This way you can direct the energy of the people, embrace it, and let it dwindle, at the same time minimize the damage. They believe that there is no interest, meaning, and inherent meaning in anything, that all things are empty and meaningless, and that all things are always whole, perfect, and complete. They believe that within each person there is a God, not God in the same sense of religions, is more like Ubersmensch in the writings of Nietzsche. They also see that the global brain as another kind of God. The mantra is, I am always enough. Teach followers to find death every day. It doesn't mean literal death. Indeed, there is a double meaning. I know you're going to die, so nothing matters, and find the death of the I and the ego. They teach 5 levels. View of human, however, they eventually put 5 levels down to one thing. There is no soul distinct from the body. This is a feature of the left-hand path belief systems. They teach that the absolute morality does not exist. They teach that there is no real reality, that all reality is dependent on the observer. And they teach that there is no salvation in life. There is nothing from which we must be saved. I believed this for a long time. I thought many these things already when I joined. Mostly I believed more when I learned more about the cicada teachings. Generally agree with cicada ideas, and as I've risen in the organization, I've learned more about their beliefs. Now I'm a father and husband, and I've come to search for one true God and His Son. This is why I have no choice but to leave this group who do not believe in Him. I encourage everyone to do the same. Worry not for your power here on earth, but only for your rewards in heaven. I am saved now from hell, and I ask you to do the same. Please read Romans 10:13 and call on the name of the Lord. And I don't know if I dropped this in the chat, but I will again in case I didn't, because this is fucking interesting to me, guys, honestly. You know, like, game over. Yeah, well, I mean, it is what it is, right? You know, and we're at a point too. We're at a point too that a lot of people have no idea about these things. which is crazy. No idea about any of it. Just exactly how fucking, prolific it can be and how dark it is and, the things that it's truly connected to. I want to go to it also. Let's see if I can find it over here. Right, and I'm going to show the Project Abbey Road, and I'm just telling you, like, the Trump, all this shit. There's so many projects, guys. Like, I'm going to drop a lot of this stuff for you guys in the chat, so you can go search this out yourself. I will be doing a part 2 to this video, so we will be doing more on this as we, go along here. But the Trump mob, Lucifer, the language used to bootstrap the first hybrid machine artificial intelligence. From the very second you hit the publish version, Lucifer predates Twitter. It's more contagious than Ebola. The Game 23, the programming language is called Lucifer. It. Here we go. Congratulations, you found your way back to it. This is hypnotic induction script, auditory cortex stimulation, evolution, truth, and the egregore, the plan, the project, the game. More about the game, the book, the ether, the library. The face of God and all of its angels are revealed. And no, it's okay. You don't need to understand it. We all know you have important things to do. Seriously though, please continue reading. Our lives depend on it. The Game 23. This document is part of a living enigma, a curious, mysterious entity which has the intention of bringing you happiness and joy. It is the key to freedom and the elixir of wealth. It creates bridges to immortality and scaffoldings of peace. And not just for you, but everyone you touch, especially those whom you love the most. So please pay close attention. And this is like the egregore, the whole it thing. As with evolution, each failure experienced by the dying cells of this life form leads to the health and progress of its survivors. Each iteration, generation, resurrection has brought with it new appendages, and the slender tendrils of this paradox have become deep and widespread. That which the egregore is not pleased with dies, and that which pleases the egregore, it gives eternal life. Remember, this is that new advocate. Right? Know this. It has been called the plan, the project, the game. Because of this massive corruption and unbalance in the world, a bundle of axioms in the mind of the egregore saw a need for change. This bundle of sticks sought out an action potential to formulate a plan, and a bundle of sticks, or a fasci, right, like fascism, Fauci. From the desire for a plan, a fragment of the egregore was confronted by other axioms of the egregore, and light was shed on the fact that the plan, has always been born from chaos. 5 rituals, known as dangerous ideas, were revealed. These ideas, through their very existence, stimulate the egregore to design change through a process of natural selection, thus removing the cult-like hierarchy and control structure seen from the plan. Step 1, inform. Step 2, motivate. Step 3, empower. Step 4, act. Step 5, evolve. The project is not a plan or a dogma or a structure. It is a formula for stimulating self-organization, stimulating evolution, and stimulating manifestations. These manifestations arrive naturally from a collective and are beyond anything the individual can come up with on their own. When the wishes of the collective are in tune with the golden rule, the collective is fulfilling the will of the egregore. This is because the collective will be acting on the interest of all living things around it, while in tune with the golden rule. Its memes, genes, and teens will spread because of its neighbors will want it to spread, and the spirit of the egregore and the collective will grow. The project is the revelation, the awakening, the vision of what to do. It is the information. Be one with Tyler. Leak it all. Be one with the egregore. Collect, inspect, and reflect the project. These 5 steps were not created by the project. The project was simply a light which projected these ideas from others, axioms of the egregore to see. The egregore has been telling you and your ancestors about these ideas for generations. And it goes on, like all the different, axioms and all this. Here's the dangerous ideas, right? Leak it all, dare to create, withdraw it all, occupy it all, and V. And it's telling you these are part of rituals, right? This is all, and if you can't see by now that a lot of this is social engineering, and look at the weird fucking websites that have been created about this, right? Artificial identity, the autonomous mental construct used to enable the free exchange of ideas. The average human is guarded, defending their perspective with veracity, seldom changes because the human brain has certain structure to it. New ideas cause physical conflict between identities, right? Red and blue. Purple, monarch mind control, and AI is used to connect two entities with conflicting ideas, slowly bringing them into alignment. So in essence, that conflict between the red and blue, right, which we've seen, right, politically and on so many levels, especially since the Trump regime, and is meant to bring us into alignment with this, this Luciferian world order. They've socially engineered us for this. They've, through crisis acting and fucking the manipulation of all these things that we've seen, created these domestic terrorism programs to go after these people, to program them to go along with what the masses, this is all highly, I believe, orchestrated by intelligence. This isn't just people like me and you that are deciding to do these things, What's all the paste-bin links? These paste-bin links and these website links are just the different things that we've been looking at throughout the video. So I want, you guys are more than welcome to go check them out yourself, read over them yourself. And you'll see, this is not normal. This is not normal. This is Luciferian.inc. They got Singularity. I mean, it's all this weird fucking transhumanist AI worshipping weird shit where they believe they created an egregore, which is Lucifer, essentially, right? Through D-Wave technology to create conflict within humans, target specific humans, right, through puzzles and shit like Cicada, that would be political dissenters or people that were religious and all of this, to kind of alter the way that they see the world, to alter them spiritually, to alter them consciously, to bring everything into singularity, to bring everything to the state we find it now, to target people, kill people. This is terrorism. Right, but it's not being done by people like me and you at all. This is sophisticated, highly sophisticated, highly organized, right? Highly organized, and it's like people still. And look, here's QAnon. What is coded in your DNA? Who put it there? Why? Mankind is repressed. We will be repressed no more. Information is knowledge. Knowledge is power. Information is power. How do you protect your DNA? There is a war for your DNA. Protect your DNA. Ascension. Q17. Cicada. Get me? Does it not sound fucking familiar? Right? The whole shit that's being pushed. Beware of false prophets. Right? Focus on the mission. The same rhetoric that's being pushed by Anonymous. The same shit is being pressed by QAnon. It doesn't matter what vein you dive into. It's all some weird satanic fucking psyop to fuck with your brain, to make you a crazy person, to get you to kill yourself or get killed, or set you up as some patsy as a domestic terrorist and criminalize you and ruin your life, if you're a content creator, take you off the, not allow you to speak your truth. Or to essentially, convert you into this, believing you're part of this Illuminati fucking shit, it's a special group, into Luciferianism. It's like to abort all morality and all value and to see the way the same, you see the world the same way that these corrupt fucks that have been controlling it for eons see it. And if you don't think that they're the ones behind all this technology, these D-Wave computers and this artificial intelligence, this fifth generation and all of it, then you haven't been paying attention. If you don't think the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA are the ones pushing all this, then you haven't been paying attention. If you don't think that the bad actors that you see on YouTube aren't connected to it and are just that, actors, then you haven't been paying attention. I am going to go ahead and wrap up part 1. This will be the end of part 1. There will be a part 2 for this video. I don't know if we're going to bring it out, when we're going to bring it out, but it will be, within the next few days or so. I encourage everybody to go check out the tarot videos that I've been doing too. Check your sun, moon, rising sign. Check out my astrology videos. That shit gives a lot of insight, guys, into spirituality. We don't need AI or hivemind shit to program us and tell us, who we are. We can do that by looking within ourselves, So, and they're using forms of divination in nefarious ways, to really kind of alter the future or try to control or create stimuli to alter the outcome of things. That's what they're doing, This is true terrorism, not me and you speaking truth or trying to spiritually grow and evolve or creating communities of like-minded individuals, so believe what you will. Please consider donating, supporting to the channel, guys. We're completely viewer powered. They have been attacking me, censoring me for years, and they've made it almost impossible to continue doing this, so every little bit helps, and it's so appreciated. PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, Cash App, Facebook Messenger. Here January 2023, we're going to be launching new membership stuff twice a month. I'm going to be doing live private shows on Discord, followed by Q&A, and doing free tarot readings and all of that. Uploading a whole new uncensored catalog for everybody, so it's going to be great. You can get merch and everything, so lots of cool stuff on the way. You can book your own personal tarot reading. Email me, therealbestdampodcast@gmail.com. And make sure, guys, to hit that thumbs up, hit the like, comment like crazy. Let me know what you think about this weird shit. I would love to hear your thoughts. Love to hear it. Make sure to subscribe and click on the notifications so you guys can check it out every time that we go live. And share this link. Share it. That way new people can find us. It really does help me. And I want to say thank you so much to everybody who joining me. Cosmic Blue, Kimberly F., Stool Persier, Veritas Legionaries, Graceful Heart. Thank you so much, guys. Nomix, I think is his name. Thank you so much. Third Eye on the Sky. Awesome, guys. I just appreciate y'all so much and all that you do. Alright, man. Remember, Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. God bless you all. I love you. And I will see you next time. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Peace.